morning.
Good morning.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. First of all, it is Friday, right?
It is Friday.
Oh my gosh, thank goodness it's Friday. Um, it's casual Friday at the Del Val Mary household for at least one of us. Because I opted out of taking a shower before we did this, which is a little weird because we're celebrating one friggin' year of Daily Dose of Dr. Mary and Dee Dee. 1 year.
Wow.
So here's what's interesting
You
to
knew I
me.
had so much to say.
Well, that's true. I knew I had so much to say, but still, here's what's super interesting to me about this. We literally had zero plan last July. July 14th was actually, I guess, the day we started it, according to Facebook. We had taken this 2-day course that said, you need content. You've just got to keep creating content. So I came to you and I said, let's just do some focused live streams. You said yes. And we just went on with it. We had no real plan. We knew we were going to keep them short, 15 minutes. We knew we wanted them to be about one topic a day, basically. And we knew we wanted it to be around addiction, sobriety, what's happening. Even for bedhead, this is unfortunate. So a year later,
A year later, we're still talking about
my
Dana's hair.
I made some notes. One of the things I said was my hair.
Yeah.
That's one of the through lines to the year. I'm sorry to have subjected you all to that. But you know, when you're watching yourself on live stream, it is a peculiar thing to see yourself and all of your flaws. We'll go with flaws. And COVID created some hair anxiety for me, even though it's fixed because I'm back getting my hair cut.
It is a very... Actually, this is an interesting segue of what's been happening this year.
Okay,
with,
go into
with
it,
COVID.
Dr. Mary. Happy anniversary,
Happy
by the
anniversary.
way.
We've
Daily
got
Dose
loads
anniversary.
of anniversaries, you and I. We have
It's true.
3 now.
It's true. So keep going. Sorry. Interesting year, COVID, my hair.
All the things people had to do by video conferences, that corrective surgery and cosmetic surgery went through the roof since COVID and this year.
Oh, not for me.
But it's just the fact that you became, well, I wouldn't say
Oh, because you
obsessed.
were looking at yourself so much more.
You were looking at yourself so much.
Oh, interesting.
You became very concerned about your hair and actually found a YouTube video of how to cut your own hair and did it quite successfully.
Well,
It's just-
as Crystal, who
it's
cuts my
interesting.
hair, said, I wouldn't hire you to cut hair, but it wasn't totally terrible.
But that's one of the weird offshoots of what we've been going through this year is people have become obsessed with, you know, all these people doing selfies suddenly pay more attention to the fact that they don't think they're perfect.
Yes. Yeah, that was dispelled for me quite early on during the pandemic. So anyway, we thought it would be just sort of interesting to go back and think about some of the stuff that we have taken away from this year. Because it has been, all joking aside, all talking about my hair aside, it's actually been a truly transformational year. I think for us, and I think for some other people too. We had no idea what we were doing when we started. We didn't know if it would matter. Here's what I didn't know for certain. I had no idea that it was going to be so personally impactful to have these conversations. You know, if you know anything about me, you know that I am a performer, that my fondest, biggest dream for most of my life was to be a movie star. So it made a lot of sense to me to start creating content. Not that I thought, oh, I'll become a YouTube sensation, but I love to be in front of a camera, clearly, or I would have taken a shower today. But it's not that surprising. I knew that I would enjoy the video part, the conversation part, in part because I like talking with you. I just had no idea how much I would learn about myself, how much I would learn about you, how much I would discover about us, and then how many amazing people we would connect with.
Yeah.
I did not anticipate any of that.
Well, what I didn't think was going to happen is actually what I think now is because we started this and, you know, everything was still in lockdown when we actually kind of started doing this, and then it slowly opened up, but it took forever for AA meetings to open up again. And for me personally, and then talking to our guests, this was kind of like an extra bonus AA meeting with bells on. It was incredibly helpful for me, and I hope if anyone ever starts watching these and starts spreading the word, our conversations, just us two and with our guests, is hopefully giving a lot of people some good advice.
What do you think is do you have a favorite moment or a favorite thing from this year around Daily Dose?
I got several actually. One of them I think was many of the guests. I actually really enjoyed, even though we had to edit it down, but just doing the non-alcoholic beer tasting was
with Evan James and John Wheeler. That was really fun.
Incredibly fun. I'm so blessed, the two of them for agreeing to do it. It was a whole lot of fun.
It was. I agree, and I don't drink any beer, alcoholic or not, and I loved it.
It actually took about an hour to do it all, and then who did you get?
Erin Lemaire edited it down. Thank you,
Erin. She did a great job of editing it down, so people would actually watch it and all go, "Oh, what is this?"
Yeah. Yep, that was very cool.
Three weird dudes talking about beer with no alcohol in it, but it was incredibly a lot of fun. And there's some phrases. One of the ones you talked about was on about the front door.
Yes, so we used Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird one day, and the sentence was, let me read it in its entirety. If your wife locks you out of the house, you don't have a problem with the door. And I just, wow, it's such a powerful statement, because we so often transfer where the real problem is to something else. And addicts are masterful at that. It's not my fault. There's nothing going on with me. It's your fault. You're doing this to me. I'm fed up, blah, blah. Everything else is why things are problematic when you are an addict.
That is one of the problems. You do, especially at some point, you do actually bleed into narcissism with your desire to deflect what you probably know deep down is wrong with you. It's another symptom of the disease.
So, speaking of that, you may remember that the very sort of weird funny conversation that when I went to meet with Maz's therapist while he was at Prairie, she told me she thought he had narcissist personality disorder. And she gave me all this literature on it, and I went home to read it. And the only thing I could think was, well, Maz doesn't have this, but I'm pretty sure I do. So I called Quinn, our son, and I read him all this stuff, and I said, do you think Maz suffers from this? And he said, that doesn't sound like Maz. It does kind of sound like you. Maybe the fact that I'm even laughing about it kind of proves the point.
Quinn Dalval is a very brave lad.
Well, he was in Los Angeles, so he was pretty safe. But, oh no, he was in Rapid City at that point. Anyway, you know what else has surprised me and been really amazing this year is how much laughter there has been. This subject could be so
that's true.
depressing and just wah, wah. Because, believe me, there was plenty of that as well. I was pretty consistently surprised at the content that shook me right to tears. Whether that was from another guest or something that we discovered unexpectedly in our conversations. There was a lot of hard content, but there was also so much laughter, which I hope if you are someone who is an addict or is living with an addict or is struggling to stay sober, I hope that you can think about one of the pluses to being on this side of the journey is that you can find joy and humor in life again. There was so little joy and humor in our lives when you were drinking.
There is a lot of joy and humor, and there can be joy and humor at AA meetings too. I mean, you can get down and really bare your soul out, but there are also moments of great levity that keep you going.
Yeah.
And there's also one of the best phrases I learned this year and I've used is oh, so you have the goals of a dead person,
Susan David. It was a TED Talk that I had discovered.
It's just fantastic.
Yeah, because the context around it is she was meeting with students who said things like, well, I don't want to get into a serious relationship because I don't want to get my heart broken, or I don't want to try something new because I might fail, or I'm afraid to do this, so I'm not going to. And her response was, well, that's fine, but
You have the
goals of a dead person.
Because only a dead person will never do anything
where you might fail.
Yeah.
Which means you've made no decisions at all. So yes, that
It's
really
brilliant.
resonated for you. Yes. I wrote down some other things. We've had 42 guests on this year. Rebecca Elliott was yesterday's guest. Thank you for joining us, Rebecca. I saw you were on. Good morning back to you. Good morning to John. But 42 different people have joined us. Not all of them guests, some of them spouses, some of them children of spouses. Quinn was our first guest. Some of them, Jeff from Hairless Dog, the founder of the non-alcoholic beer company, John and Evan, who we referenced, Nikki Ness from Luna, but a lot of people who have come on and shared their journey of addiction, and every single one of them has had some takeaways that have moved me, and I think moved our audiences as well. So thank you to those guests who've come on to join us.
Thank you all for that.
That's been incredible. Maybe one of the high points for me was when Patty Sen, who'd been a guest, helped me get Maz a 4-year chip so that I could get him that as a surprise.
I did celebrate my 4th year sobriety birthday with a lovely 4-year chip, which I missed because of course my Friday night home AA meeting still is not meeting in person.
Yep. So thank you, Patty, in particular, for helping
Patty.
me do that. That was incredibly special, and likely the only AA moment I will ever experience in my life. So that was really meaningful to me. Our 2 months of drink making, our holiday drink making, and then our May summer drinks, those were really fun.
They were fun.
Fun to be in a different location, fun to have an activity, and then fun just to try out some new options of things that you could provide for people, whether they are not drinking because they are in sobriety or they're just not drinking because they don't want to be drinking. I thought every single one of those drinks, with the exception of one I kind of made up, was excellent. So you can go back and find those if you want. The mugs of Daily Dose. That was a really fun way for me to get to marry my day job of supporting local artists with this work. Hold up your mug, Mezzy. That is 3 Lazy Horses, purchased at Unglued. This is an Emily Williams Wheeler mug. We have many, many others, and each of them is special to me because we know the artist, and it's fun to be able to promote local mugs. We're drinking tea and coffee anyway. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's it. I just want to thank all the guests again. It was fantastic to listen to their story and their willingness to share their stories with us and other people.
I think some other big takeaways for me were the idea that there's nothing to be ashamed of. When you are going through it, at least my experience, and I think our experience, and we heard this from a lot of guests, so I don't think we were unique to this, but when we were going through it, I think partly I couldn't identify it because to identify it would have been to recognize the tremendous shame that I felt, that we felt, that you, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that you felt that we were living through this. And that was too hard for me to address. So I just didn't. I never allowed myself to really stop and say, you know what's going on here. I stayed right on the surface so that I could be sort of in denial about it. I could just say, well, something's wrong, but I don't know what it is, because it was so shameful to think about it. And if you can set that aside, if you can just say, This is a disease that has entered our home. Doesn't really matter why or how or when. It's here. We can either live in shame or we can say, today is a day to start addressing it and trying to solve it. Not everybody's going to win that battle, just like not everybody gets cured from cancer. Not everybody survives the stuff that they get handed. But if you can address it, if you can just set your shame aside, the outcome is, the potential outcome is so worth the fear of being judged. And I think what I've learned is that nobody's been in judgment of us. It's been truly incredible to be open about it. It's been part of why we could be so joyful. So the shame piece is big. And then I have to say, maybe the most surprising thing you said out loud that I don't think I would know about you had we not had these conversations. And you said it to a guest, and I think it was Shannon Stefke. I can't be sure, but I think it was Shannon, who was an early guest. You said something to the effect of, I think I knew what was wrong, but I felt so strongly that I had had an incredible life, which I threw away, and I did not deserve another chance.
That's actually quite common with addicts. You get to that point where you just, you give up. The guy I shared a room with when I first was in hospital.
Oh my gosh.
He was a year younger than you.
Younger than I am.
And looked about 30 years older than you.
Oh, when he said his age, I almost fell out of my chair.
They fished him out of his SUV, which was in a ditch, which was not for the first time. And I said goodbye to him. And he said, "Well, good luck to you." I said, "Well, good luck to you too." And he actually just grabbed my hand and pulled me closer and said, "It's too late for me." I'll never forget that. And it was just that point where a lot of people just give up. And I did to a certain extent. And thankfully, I got this chance to take the steps forward and keep moving and not give up completely.
Yeah. I have spoken so often of my former minister, Rich Zeck. That's one thing that Rich did always in his sermons, and it's a hallmark of being a Methodist, which is so different than being a Catholic. But Rich's core belief is that there is grace for everyone. And his definition of grace is founded in Christianity, which is lovely. But in this context, there is grace for everybody. Everybody deserves another chance. And it's not always easy to ask for it. It's not always easy to give it. And that is true of all of us, not just addicts. But everybody deserves another chance.
Yeah, everyone does deserve another chance.
I've said a million times, if Maz had died, I can't imagine where I would be, who I would be as a person, but I know that I would be bitter and angry and resentful, and I would move through the rest of my life carrying the burden of knowing that I chose an addict, knowing that he left me, knowing that he picked alcohol over me. I mean, I would have made all of these assumptions because I never would have been on the journey to healing. So you getting a second chance gave me a second chance, gave us a second chance, and we are so much better for it.
Damn straight.
And everyone we've talked to addicts who've had to ask for lots of additional chances, not just one, but lots and lots of them, because the journey is different for everybody. But nobody has said, boy, it was better to be an addict. It was better to be a drunk than it has been to have to ask for help and forgiveness and grace and have to do the hard work of coming back again.
It is a lot of hard work, and people, you still stumble, so don't sit there and go, well, what if I need a third chance? Yes. There's an old Chinese saying, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Just as long as you can keep standing up, you're doing the right thing.
Well, and from the other side of it, if you want to go back to a biblical take on things, when the apostles say to Jesus, how many times should I forgive someone? 7? Feeling like that was really being generous. You likely know Jesus' response is 7 times 77, I think. It's either 70 or 77. And then some more. There is no, there's no like, oh, you've reached your punch card of times you can be forgiven. That doesn't mean that you are obligated to keep with someone who keeps falling. We all have to make the best decision we can for ourselves in the environment and the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But I hope that for everybody who's watched this, you remember that you absolutely deserve another chance.
You do.
For yourself and for everyone around you. So, Dr. Mary.
Just once. Some people need more than one go around in rehab. I was in rehab with quite a few people. It wasn't their first time.
Pretty much everybody, it wasn't their first time. Yeah. So, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
You've been an amazing, amazing audience this year. We're in the process of trying to figure out what is next for Daily Dose. We're going to do live videos through the rest of June. No, it's July.
It's July.
It's the middle of July. We're going to do live videos through the rest of July to wrap it up. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break. We have brought in a consultant who's going to help us think through what is next. We don't have any idea what's next. But if you have watched Daily Dose consistently or periodically, thank you.
Thank you.
These conversations would have been worth it to me if nobody had watched. But that has not been the case. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for sending support. Thanks for connecting us to other guests. And just congratulations to anybody who's on any part of the journey of life.
Absolutely. If you're the addict,
Yep.
there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you're a spouse, remember the same.
Yep. It's no easy thing to be where we all are, but we are here and we are in many cases better for it. So thanks for watching. Congratulations on 1 year, Dr. Mary. Thanks for saying yes.
Congratulations to you too. I'm happy I said yes.
Me too. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.